"I'm sorry to tell you this," the doctor said. "We did everything we could for Gregory, but I'm afraid he didn't make it." Jessica stared blankly at the doctor, who kept his gaze fixed on hers. His eyes filled with empathy, while hers filled with tears. Her parents said nothing for a moment, then her mother let out a sob. "Please, no." The doctor put his hand on her shoulder. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Delaney. The wound was deep. The bullet entered his chest and punctured a lung. It lodged in the wall of his aorta. We tried to stop the bleeding and put a graft in place, but it bled too heavily and we couldn't stop it. We did all we could do. I massaged his heart to pump it manually, but I'm very sorry." Jessica's mother leaned into her husband and buried her sobs in his chest. All Jessica could do was stare at the doctor while she listened to her mother's weeping and the sound of her own blood rushing through her veins. She still couldn't believe what the doctor was saying. "Will you be all right?" he asked. His voice was caring, almost shaky. His green eyes were compassionate and sincere. He reached out and touched her shoulder. Jessica managed to nod. "If you need anything or have any questions," he continued, "you can contact me at any time." He handed her his card. "Thank you," she replied. He made a move to leave, but turned back. He shook his head in frustration. "I'm sorry, Jessica. I did everything in my power to save him. I wish I could have done something to prevent it from happening." His expression was tight with strain as he bowed his head and walked away. Her grief swelled as she stared after the doctor until the doors to surgery swung closed behind him. She choked back a sob and turned to embrace her parents. It wasn't until many hours later, after they left the hospital and went home to call their friends and relatives, that Jessica wondered how the doctor had known her name. Chapter 1. 1 year later. Jessica shifted nervously in the driver's seat, her fingers like vice grips around the steering wheel. She'd driven for 2 hours, slicing through a rain-battered dusk, wishing that she lived closer to Dodge and her parents. If she did, she wouldn't have to spend so many hours traveling from one city to the other. Maybe it was time to move home, she thought, for the 10th time that month. There wasn't much keeping her in Topeka anymore, not since she broke off her engagement to Liam. She was self-employed and could write her fitness column from wherever she pleased. All she needed was a good pair of sneakers for running, her laptop, and wireless internet at a nearby Starbucks. Her apartment was a sublet. She could give a month's notice and be out of there in a heartbeat. The change would do her good. Not that she wasn't happy in her work. She loved what she did. There were no problems in that department, but everything else seemed so uncertain and unpredictable. Her brother had gone out to buy ice cream after supper one night, and he never saw another sunrise again. Jessica had imagined she'd be married by now with a kid on the way, but the man she chose for a husband turned out to be a self-absorbed child, and she was suddenly single again, paying off debt from a honeymoon she had no choice but to take alone. Yet, she was ever hopeful, waiting for a sign from above, a clue to suggest what she was meant to do with her life. There had to be some greater purpose. Should she stay in Topeka or move home to Dodge to be closer to her parents? They weren't getting any younger and wouldn't be around forever. If she learned anything over the past year, it was to make the most of each and every day, because you never knew when it could all end, just like that, with no warning whatsoever. Come on, Destiny. Which is it, Topeka or Dodge? A flash of lightning and an instantaneous thunderclap caused her to jump in her seat. Rolling her neck to ease the tension in her shoulders, she flexed her fingers on the steering wheel and repositioned her slick palms. The windshield wipers snapped noisily back and forth. Another crash of thunder overlapped the last. Counting the seconds to keep her mind occupied, Jessica raked stiff fingers through her hair. She'd just finished a cup of bitter service station coffee, and now her brain, whirling with caffeine, couldn't match the lightning with the correct thunderclap. Maybe the radio would take her mind off things. She